I listened to some of your music.
Okay.
And you have a song dedicated to New Orleans. It's a very bluesy piece.
Yeah.
It's a cappella.
Yeah, it's it was one take and we were out. So it was that was one that when we started off, so the idea was in the beginning, I toured with a live hip hop band called The Blend, and we toured around the country, ran out of money several times, several ways from Sunday, and then that stopped, started making mixtapes, and then I was just like, this is, if I don't do music or write, I don't know, that's just part of like what I do in the day, I'll get up and write. And so made a bunch of mixtapes, then made solo albums after that, and that's where New Orleans came in, and it was kind of navigating. The song is very rough, but it's also, the stuff leading up to now and the album coming out in the next few months is all, things just get more polished as it goes along, and you work with different producers, and it just evolves as it goes in time. But when I was in Minneapolis here, living here, obviously in 2020, all that stops. I'm sure y'all can resonate with. You wake up, you write, you have a creative mind.
Yeah.
And when George Floyd was murdered, there was this guilt to like doing art for me.
Yes.
And I don't know how other people felt, but I was like, I just got to get out into the streets. And so that was the first step into being very involved with actions in the streets.
Wow. I appreciate you for sharing that, brother. I kind of had similar experiences.
Yeah.
I remember I was on tour I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, so I was on a very small college tour with Chingy and Murphy Lee at the time.
Okay.
That, Ferguson kicked off. And I was home initially when Mike Brown Jr. was murdered, so I could go to the scene. It was like 5 to 10 minutes from where I lived. And I came back and I had to do a party that night. And I remember not feeling good about doing the party. I remember I got on the mic and snapped on somebody unnecessarily because I just was shifting into this very militant-like mode.
Yeah.
And I had to make a decision if I could still do those shows while people were in the streets. And I basically chose to just walk away from music for a little second.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long did you walk away for?
I mean, part of my persona is that the music is already baked with a revolutionary intent. So, I mean, I was still doing things that made sense, but I wasn't my normal music businessman, chompy type of self for a while.
Yeah.
I know Muslims who struggle with that spiritually, who struggle with the idea that making music invites negative energy and it's frivolous in a time and place when we shouldn't be frivolous. We should be focused on higher vibrational things. I don't necessarily. It's created a conflict for some people. That's why the Sufism is so interesting to people, right? Because it's like they're able to tap into that and to still be spiritual and still achieve that higher level of spirituality. For both of y'all, I want to ask, what is it that allowed y'all to keep going with the art? Because you said you got a new project coming out.
Yeah.
You always have new music. You both kind of spun the block and came back to adding the art to the music. I mean, adding the art to the movement.
Yeah, I think what happened for me was, so George Floyd had been murdered May 25th, 2020, and then Dante Wright was, for lack of a better term, I would say murdered in April of 2021. And so it kept going, and then Winston Smith was killed in summer of 2021. And so there was this like mechanism where it just kept like pulling you back to the trauma or pulling you back to the action in the street. And so, writing a verse just wasn't really, it wasn't just like right in front of me or accessible as it was. So I think it was after that, there was this balance that I built out, was like, okay, this is going to keep happening, but I'm not going to stop writing. How do both these things exist at the same time without me feeling guilt for not being in the streets, and for me, like, not feeling guilt for not, partaking in like what my soul is calling me to do. And so you build out a balance with it. And then that's kind of how it happened. Even when Renee Good was murdered and as well as Alex Preddy, I was able to still keep writing, but also step out and stick to addressing it at the same time.
For me, it's hard for me to do anything else. That's the way that I process everything. As soon as something happens, whether it's a personal tragedy or a personal victory, something happens in the world, the best way for me to express it has always been the writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, man, it's I find inspiration in cats like y'all. You know what I'm saying? I look at people who put a message in their music a little differently than I look at people who just make music for the sport of making it. But also, I think one thing that people kind of miss out on me, and you maybe catch it, is that I'm also about the curation and the production of music, not just the message.
Yeah.
So how the music sounds, how the music feels, still has to be very high quality music for me to give a certain amount of care about it. But I think that we, as people who do make a more message-driven music sometimes, we don't get the credit that the guys who are more mainstream get when they choose to be more experimental or when they try to go into a different genre or whatever. And so for me, I feel like I'm a child of the guys before me, and it's my job to compete. It's Mike went out there and competed, so Kobe got to go out there and play too. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to continue that legacy in my own type of way.
I think it's for us, for musicians. Yassine has a quote: "If you really love art, you make some." And I think for us, that's where we're at with it. But most people, I think, are not at that level with it. And for them, art is something that's in the background. It's not a necessity for them like that. So most people don't have the luxury to be philosophical about the way they approach art.
I got you.
Yeah, the way that you said art is a necessity, it's that there's really no other way but speaking through the art. Like it's going, that is the vessel one way or another. And it's not necessarily, I'm going to take a break, for X amount of years and then come back to the craft or whatever it may be. When people take a break, and it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
And going back to what you said that Yassine said, maybe I'm piggybacking on it or not, but the idea that I'm getting from you is that it's part of like breathing or just being in the world. It's like, well, I'm going to write a verse regardless, and we'll see how this works out. It's not something where it's like, I'm going to make, commodify this thing or create this project or whatever. It's like the project that the art is speaking through you rather than you taking a break and then reapproaching it.
Switch sides.